What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some more Borderlands 2 gameplay for you. And with the recent release of the movie that is known as Borderlands, and how, if you haven't checked out my review, how just very bad it is, and how everyone seems to be dogging on it. I wanted to take this time to talk about something that may be more important than that, and that is the whole state of the franchise of Borderlands itself. Because I'll be honest with you guys, as long as I've been a Borderlands fan, I don't think the franchise has been any lower than it is right now. This is the lowest point of the entire franchise. I mean, they're basically at that point where I don't know how much lower you can go in terms of, like, without, like, the franchise existing, period. That's the lowest it can go, is just, you know, the franchise completely dies and no more content is ever going to be coming out. But I've seen takes because of, like, this movie where I've never even seen it before, where people are now coming out of the woodwork saying, well, you know what, this franchise, terrible movie, perfect for a terrible franchise. This franchise has always been garbage. Even talking about the good ones like Borderlands 2 and 1. And I'm like, where is this coming from? But that is what's going on right now, is that people have now associated Borderlands with being mediocrity, basically. So what's that mean for the future of Borderlands, and in this case, Borderlands 4? Well, I'll tell you this much for sure. Borderlands 4 better be the most, it better be one of, if not the best Borderlands game ever released. Because that is how slim the mistakes are. Like, that's how thin the water we're treading here is. Like, there is no room for error at this point. You better damn well bring it for the 4th entry whenever that comes out. Because if you don't, this franchise is basically gonna sink to rock bottom and basically be forgotten and moved on. Because right now, a lot of people are not really positive with this franchise. But how can Borderlands 4 possibly bring that old magic back while also innovating at the same time? Well, the thing about it is that I think a lot of these problems that it can solve, there's some things they're going to have to be creative about, and I don't necessarily have all the answers for that, but some of these things I believe are just like, duh, like, why are we not doing this? But let's get into what I think Borderlands 4 should do. For one, I think I speak for everybody. They definitely need to push this game back. This game does not need to be released anytime soon. They need to get this stigma of this movie well out of their way. I don't think it's going to be released next year, but I could be wrong. We still don't know any real major updates on it. We just know it's in development. But my point being is that they need to take their time with this. Because if they mess this up, that's it. Game over, man. Game over. That's it. So take your time with it, get it right. What they need to do, they need to bring back a proper loot system. Not in terms of the loot, in terms of the rarity and stuff like that, in terms of how so-called legendaries and loot drop. I think Borderlands 1 and 2 did the best. I prefer 2. Yes, the drop rates can be really stingy, but for the most part, the majority of legendaries, if you wanted to get a certain legendary, you would farm a certain enemy, and they would have the best chance of dropping it. And there would be sometimes, I remember with the warrior, he would drop maybe 3 or 4 different legendaries, something like that. The problem with Borderlands 3 is a lot of times to get certain legendaries, you would have to fight with other legendaries. Like, enemies would drop like 20 different legendaries, so you would have to hope he drops a legendary, on top of hope he drops the legendary you want, on top of drops the version of the legendary you want. So you have 3 different loot pools fighting each other just to get the version you want. Yeah, and then it would make the game tougher while, you see a bunch of legendaries, but never be the thing you really wanted. And it was just a frustrating experience. Go back to what worked. Stop making it complicated. Next thing, stop nerfing good builds. Oh my god, I know it's been a while since I've been deep into in terms of like builds with Borderlands, but it gets so annoying when you have people come up with really inventive, creative builds, and as soon as they come up with them, they're nerfing them because, oh, we don't want you to do things too easy. And it's like, dude, you have to have multiple things, multiple items, multiple versions of the same item to make this whole thing work in the first place. On top of that, they're going to make the game harder anyway down the line, so it's like, why are you taking this from people? Like, stop making the game harder for the sake of harder. I always like it when they tell you, oh, you get more reward. BS. You get more stress, Make it fun. Like, yeah, you can have a challenge, no question about it, but stop making things harder for the sake of harder without the satisfaction of getting stuff you really want. I feel like 3 really amped it up way too much to a point where it's like I just don't even care anymore. The next thing you need to do, make your games run smooth and efficiently. I remember in Borderlands 3 how terrible they ran. I mean, I thought the game was about to crash. It got so slowed, so stiff. God knows, sometimes I'm getting like, I don't know, like that dreaded 1 FPS. I mean, I'm like, what is going on? And the thing is, I remember they would always try to fix something, but when they fix something, 20 more things would go wrong. Get a new server, for the love of God, please. It's not rocket science. But that's the easy parts that I think are easy fixes. The problem is going to be the next parts, and that is the following. The writing. Seriously, all the writers that you currently have, get rid of them now, because you do not need any one of them. I think I speak for all of us, fans of Borderlands. Since Borderlands 3, the writing has been absolutely terrible and abysmal for the characters and the story. I mean, you've turned likable characters unlikable. You've created a whole abomination of a character who I dare not say her name because I just want to pretend she doesn't even exist. You've disrespected a lot of current things, and your writing is just, it's terrible. And I don't care where you gotta do, where you gotta go. Get people that know how to write enjoyable, likable characters, enjoyable moments in the story, etc. I don't care what you gotta do. Find better writers, because we do not need another Borderlands 3 situation in the story, or continuation with Wonderlands. Please, for the love of everything, get a better team. And I know that's going to be the hardest part, because I feel like Gearbox is one of those tone-deaf studios that doesn't understand how much Borderlands 3 really pissed off a lot of the fans of Borderlands in terms of how they did a lot of characters dirty. Ain't that right, Maya? And then how they propped up other characters who I'm not even going to mention their name, but you know who I'm talking about. And last, return to the fun humor days we used to have. And I understand that Borderlands humor is subjective, but even if you are a fan of Borderlands humor, I feel like it's gotten so much worse over the past few years, and they need to just revamp it and get the whole fun moments. Because as I said before, if you're not having fun, if everything's such a drag, or you just don't care, or you're not even finding anything remotely funny, that's a big problem. So you need to go back to the drawing board with the humor, because things have either become outdated or they're just not clicking anymore. So you got your work cut out for you, Gearbox, and I wish you the best of luck, because I would love nothing more than a return of Borderlands 4 to be the triumphant return of a franchise I deeply love. But, time will tell. Time will tell. But hopefully I laid out what they should do, the easy parts. The parts are going to be a lot harder. But I'll just say this right now. If you mess this up, Gearbox, you mess up Borderlands 4, there's not going to be a Borderlands 5. But that's all I have to say. That's my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. How do you feel about the state of the franchise right now? You think it's at its lowest point ever in its history? And do you think Borderlands 4 is basically, live or die? It's basically do or die at this point. And if they don't get it right, then this franchise is dead forever. But that is going to be it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you all later. Peace.